Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Mike, and today I want to talk to y'all about the 24-105 RF lens lineup from Canon. So there are three types, and I want to cover just a little bit of the details on each of them to help you kind of decide what lens would be best for you if you're going for this particular focal length. So the first one that I want to bring up, and I've got them right here, is the 24-105. This one is the f4. So, and also I've got some notes because I want to make sure that I stay as much on track with the details on this as I possibly can. So, as I said, this is the 24-105. It's the f4. The nice thing about this one, it's f4 throughout. So when you're going from your widest angle at 24, zooming in all the way to 105, you're going to have f4 throughout, which is pretty nice because this gives you some more options for shooting in some standard lighting situation. I mean, bright lighting situation is always good. The more light you can get, the better, depending on, of course, what it is you're shooting. While it's not maybe the best for the lowest of light situations, where like a 2.8 or a 2 or 1.8 and all that would work out, you can still manipulate a number of the other settings to help get some good pictures. Also, if you got a tripod, this thing will also be great for nighttime shots, since you're typically going to be slowing down the shutter speed anyway to be letting more light in for whatever it is you're trying to capture in those lower light situations. Stars maybe, although I wouldn't necessarily use this for astrophotography. It could be, but maybe you're shooting a fountain and you want that nice flowing look, or even if you're shooting waterfalls during the daytime, those kinds of situations, you would want a tripod anyway, even if you had some of those lower aperture capable camera lenses. A few of the other details for this particular one, it's got a nice price. So it is an L series lens, so you will see it's got the red ring around it. So it's weather sealed, good quality components, good glass. It is image stabilized. It does have the USM, the ultrasonic motor, so it keeps things a little bit quieter when it's focusing. So, if you're focusing when you're taking the picture, that won't necessarily matter as much. If you're doing it for video, though, it kind of reduces some of that extra noise that could be picked up in the background. It is, what did I say, weight, something to consider. It is just a little bit over 1.5 pounds, so pretty decent weighted lens. It's not super heavy, will go in the bag nicely, will fit on your camera nicely. And by the fit on your camera nicely, what I mean is it doesn't take up much space if you're going to be shooting all day, especially if you're being a tourist going around shooting whatever it is that's around you. This lens will be great for that. The wide 24-105 gives you a great range. It doesn't go as far as some of the longer lenses like the 70-200, and it doesn't go as wide as maybe the 10-20 of course, or even the 15-35. But that's not really what this is for. It's to give you a good broad range so that you don't have to constantly switch out your lenses when you're out taking pictures, especially if you are being a tourist. But even if you're out doing pro photo shoots of whatever type you would like, then it helps with that. With that, the things that I think that this lens is good for, it is still decent for portraits. So like I said, it doesn't have the lowest aperture, so you're not going to get as amazing of a bokeh as you would with some of the other more portrait focused lenses, like the 28-70 2.0 or any of the prime lenses. But you can also manipulate settings, and depending on how far you are away from your subject will also determine how the background is going to look. So if you're farther away from your subject and zooming in, or if you're close up to your subject, then those backgrounds are going to be a little more blurred and give you that nice look. That being said, with the distance, it does have a minimum focus distance of 1.48 feet, according to the stats online. So just under 1.5 feet. So just remember, from the end of your lens to your subject needs to be about 1.5 feet. Also, you've got to keep in mind that this is an externally zooming lens. So at 24, it's compact, but as we zoom out to 105, you get roughly about 2 more inches of lens sticking out, so you'll then have to be about that 1.5 feet from the end of the lens now. So keep that in mind when you're going in and focusing in on your subject. The lens diameter 77 millimeters, so if you're thinking of getting some kind of filter on the end, the types of lens filters that I think would be good are, polarizers, circular polarizers specifically, because then you can, manipulate that as needed. ND filters, those are great, especially in higher light situations. So if you're wanting to get, like I described a moment ago, those waterfalls or water fountains, or any kind of like flowing look that looks kind of nice and smooth. Sometimes you'll see light trails from cars, specifically in night photos. If there's more light than you need, or if it's during the day, having some of those ND filters that darken and slow the shutter speed down can help you make those photos in, like I said, those daytime and those higher light situations. So keep that in mind when you're looking for lenses. So yeah, overall, great lens. Portraits, landscapes, outdoor cityscapes, nighttime with a tripod. Like I said, in most lenses you're going to want at nighttime with a tripod. So great lens for all of those things. Highly recommend. Again, as with the next one I'm going to talk about, I used to have it. I ended up trading it in with some other gear that I had, and traded in to get the Canon RF 100 to 500. I use that for a number of other situations. I really like it. There were some sales at the time, some trade-in sales. So I do kind of wish that I still had this lens, but I am renting it, and I had a chance to use it with this last week again. And wanted to share with you just because I do think it is a great overall versatile lens to have in your bag. If you only had to choose one lens, especially if you're starting out, then this can be a really good one to do all of those things that I just described. All right. With that, then the next lens that I want to cover, and I've got it attached to my R5 here just so you can see the full breadth of the lens and what it's going to look like on the camera body itself. So this is the 24 to 105 f2.8. Now, as you can see, it's a very long lens. It's not just the 24 to 105 f2.8. Obviously, that's what I just mentioned. But so if you're looking up these lenses online with the numbers, right, you're going to see these two lenses and plus the third one I'm going to talk about later. But you'll see this one f2.8, IS for the image stabilization, USM for the ultrasonic motor, and then Z. So you'll also notice it's got some holes in it with some contacts down here. There is an attachment by Canon that you can buy for this lens, and it functions basically, old-time camcorders. You had the buttons that would go wide or zooming in on your subject. So that attachment is designed to go on the side of the camera, connect to the ridges that go along here, so that you will be able, instead of having to use your hands to then adjust from the 24 to 105, you can use that attachment with the buttons to do that for you. So for still photography, that thing is not super important, especially since I think it costs around $1,000, which is kind of a lot for an attachment that just zooms in and out. Maybe it does some other things, haven't looked into it. The place that I rent this and other lenses from does have a few of those to rent, but they were all out at the time that I rented this, so I didn't get to play with that. Maybe I'll rent that another time with this lens and just kind of try it out and let y'all know what I think. But right now, yeah, not super important. The thing that I do like about this is, it is a 24 to 105, right? Just like the one that I mentioned. It's 2.8, and it's 2.8 throughout. So whether you're at your 24 or your 105, you're at 2.8. Fantastic for your lower light situations. Indoor photography especially kind of suffers from lower light. I mean, typically lights are on, but there's not a lot of direct lighting in those buildings, so your shutter speeds and a number of other components are going to be a little bit slower in those situations, and you'll have to manipulate the shutter speed and aperture and all of those things to fit your needs if you are shooting indoors. Outdoors too, but it is nice because you can kind of go longer in the day and in the evening without having to manipulate those features too much, because of, like I said, the 2.8 being able to function in lower light situations much better. The other thing to consider, which is why this lens is so long, is it's internally zooming. I think you may have noticed that as I was turning the dial, there was no movement on the camera. So 24, 105, it does move pretty smoothly, most likely to accommodate for the attachment there. Back to my notes, just so I can catch everything. It does have an 82 millimeter diameter on the lens. So again, for your filters, since this one is 82, the f4 is 77. Chances are, if you are getting multiple lenses, you'll have a variety of different lens diameters. I recommend getting a one lens filter of a particular type with step-up rings so that you can switch back and forth and save some money that way. The other things for this one, it is pretty heavy. 2.9 pounds is what it's weighing in at. It does have a minimum focusing distance of 17.7 inches, so just under 1.5 feet. So again, you just got to keep that distance between the end of the camera and your subject, and you don't have to worry about when you're zooming in and out, because it's an internal zoom. 2.9 pounds, so it's kind of weighty, not heavy, right? It's not impossible to carry around, but again, if you're holding your camera shooting like this all the time, just consider your wrists and how they might get tired. It does have a collar with a tripod attachment. The collar itself doesn't come off. The tripod attachment does, so you can shoot handheld, but I would definitely recommend using some kind of tripod if you're doing any, especially nighttime low light, which it can be really good for. So in here too, portraits, landscapes, outdoor cityscapes, nighttime, all good for that. I will say though, this is specifically designed to be for video use. It can be used for stills. It definitely has that dual purpose. It seems that Canon is doing that a little more with some of their lenses. There is the 35 that recently came out that also has that dual use of video and still photography. There's an announcement coming out in just a couple days. A few more lenses in this particular lineup. So I'm actually going to be going up to B&H in New York on October 30th. That's when the announcement's going to be made, and I will get to see those lenses, and hopefully I'll get some hands-on experience with them, and hopefully I'll be able to maybe record some video so that I can tell you about my experience with that. It'll be my first time doing something like that. Pretty excited, taking the train up to New York from DC for the day to do that. And I'm excited. So I'll get back to you on what they've got and what they'll be good for. So most likely video, since they got the dual use. But anyway, something else too that you'll notice on here, we have there's a button to open up an iris. There is an external aperture ring that goes from 2.8 to 22, which is the aperture range for this particular camera. So I did test it out with taking pictures, stills. If you do use the iris ring, it will maintain whatever aperture that you put it on in the ring into your still photograph, which not super necessary. Since all of that can be done in the camera body itself with the different controls and settings. If you're shooting, I wouldn't worry about using your thumb or anything else to try and figure that out. I would just use the dials that are already here associated with that. So I think it's geared a little more towards filmmaking. So, you know, especially if you get on a tripod and you're using the little device to zoom in and out, maybe you want to, you know, adjust the aperture to get some kind of effect. I think that's more where this will come into play. But if you like to manually do it, it does work with the still, so you can use that. But yeah, so awesome lens. I do like it. I think for my needs and purposes, I would continue to rent if I ever needed it. Again, it's long. It's not necessarily going to fit in a shoulder bag or a backpack unless it's the only thing that you're carrying. I mean, it will fit, but maybe not be super comfortable. Again, I wouldn't want to be hanging around all day using that to take pictures. I don't remember if I mentioned the price. It is $2,999. So again, that's also something to consider when making that purchase. And then lastly, real quick, I don't have this lens on me. I didn't feel it was too important to get this particular one and test it out. It is the 24-105, just like this, but it is a variable aperture. So it is an f4 to 7.1 IS STM lens. So it does have image stabilization. It retails for $399, so definitely on the less expensive side of things. It is pretty small, weighs just a little, you know, 13.93 ounces is what's saying online. So super lightweight, super small. It has a 67 millimeter diameter on the lens, so a much smaller filter would go on that. Minimum focusing distance, it does say 5.16 inches online, which is pretty short, so you can get really up close to things if you want to do some macro shots, although I probably would get something with a much lower aperture capable lens to do that kind of photography versus this one. So you can use this lens, I'd imagine, the same as you would with any other situation, since it is lightweight. You can take it with you anywhere you go, but just remember that as you zoom out to that 105 range, which is a great zoom, then your lowest aperture is going to be 7.1. So your lower light situations, maybe indoors, maybe when the sun starts going down, not the greatest of lens. If you're on a super budget and you need something that's not so expensive but has a great range, then that might be the perfect lens for you. But if you are doing something a little more pro, even if you're on the higher end of amateur photography, then I would at least recommend, if you want this overall versatile range, then the 24-105 f4 is probably your best bet. And then if you're going into something a little more specialized like video, then the 24-105 2.8 would be great, because again, you have that much lower light capable lens. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share with you all for today. Thanks for joining me. If you have a chance, go out. If you're wanting to test a lens, see about renting it. If you got some friends that you can borrow the lens from, try that out. Like I said, I always recommend renting. It is definitely a good way to go, save some money, but also helps you figure out what lens is good for you and what you actually want to buy. Because, you know, at the end of the day, you don't want to buy something that you spend a lot of money on, can't return, and if you don't like it or it doesn't suit your needs, then it ends up sitting in a closet or on a desk collecting dust somewhere. You definitely don't want to do that. So if you do get a chance to rent these lenses or try them out, yeah, go out, take some pictures, let me know what your experience is, and if you have any more questions on this particular lens or anything else related to that, let me know. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing y'all in my next video, and I'll be getting back to you on what I see about the new lenses that Canon's going to announce on the 30th. Cool. All right. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in the next video.